Liz McDade, a huge Columbo fan and a small business owner living in Santa Cruz, California, and this is my brother.
I'm Paul McDade, an editor and actor working in the TV and film industry in LA. And this is Trenchcoat Cigar, Peugeot, Wandering with Columbo. And each episode will bring you a little history, Hollywood history, glamour, and behind the scenes as we walk you through Columbo, one of America's greatest TV detective series. And today we have a special guest.
Woo-hoo.
Our guest today is the one and only Susan Damante, who played Melissa in Troubled Waters, Season 4, Episode 4 of Columbo, which we loved. She has performed opposite Vincent Price in Ellery Queen, Larry Hagman in Dallas, James Garner in Rockford Files, Robert Redford, Peter Boyle in The Candidate, which was directed by Michael Ritchie. She's also worked with director Jonathan Kaplan, Janica Berger, Megan Foley, and Chuck Mara, a producing and directing team. Her favorite role on the New York stage was Bev McHale in her Sonoma Story. She's also a writer, teacher, singer, and celebrating 30 years of being Crohn's disease free.
Yeah.
She has her own podcast called Tell Me Everything with Susan Damante about overcoming adversity. And she has some really cool interviews in there where guests relay how they deal with what's handed to them and or their secrets to surviving in this world. And she's been practicing Nichiren Buddhism with the SGI for 4 decades and is a dedicated volunteer leader. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you so
Welcome,
much.
Susan.
Thanks for having me.
Glad
Yes,
you're here.
We're so excited that you were open to talking with us.
Us crazy Columbo freaks.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I still on Facebook and Instagram, I get people asking for autographed pictures. And then, my film, The Wilderness Family, I did 3 of those features. People are still writing. They say it's the only film that my parents let me watch when I was a kid. And now I'm showing it to my nieces and my nephews, and because it was G-rated, but it was very exciting because it had avalanches and animals and tigers and bears. Oh my. I had to learn how to shoot a shotgun. So people are still, Columbo especially, Rockford Files a little bit, but Columbo and The Wilderness Family, people are still enjoying to this day. It's amazing.
As they should.
They have a really good file of the first one on YouTube. Like the quality of it was top notch, for YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's because Lion Gates purchased and redigitized, I think. The Wilderness Family you're talking about?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to say that we both loved watching you on Columbo, and we're definitely going to ask you about Columbo, but we like to go even further, just kind of cover bigger, broader your career, what you're up to. And we thought our listeners would really like to hear about your other projects like Rockford Files. So we thought maybe we could start there. I would love to hear what your experience was like on Rockford Files. So in Rockford Files, you play Charlotte Dusky in the episode called Tall Woman in Red Wagon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so interesting I'm from San Francisco Bay Area, Liz, born and raised in Redwood City, which as teenagers we called it Deadwood Shitty. We all wanted to get out of there. Now it's she,
Yes.
computer town. But
Yes.
what happened with me was at 18, when I graduated, I thought I was going to be a famous person's assistant and travel the world and, organize them, etc. And I had taken a little bit of drama classes, but secretly my whole life I was singing and dancing in the toilet, mirrors and acting out certain things. But when I got to high school, I joined the drama class, and my teacher was very supportive, and you have a talent for this. And so my mother came to me and said, I heard about this woman who does commercials, just put her kids into commercials in San Francisco. You should go do commercials. You're pretty. You should, what are you going to be somebody's assistant for? You should be out there. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know how to do that. And so she said, well, let's call Channel 2 and ask them how you can be in a commercial. And so we called KQED Channel 2.
Oh my gosh.
And they actually answered the phone, I guess. And she was like, my daughter wants to do commercials. How do we do that? And they said,
oh my gosh.
well, you got to get an agent. There, have to have an agent. And I think there were 2 agencies at that time, Demeter Agency and Ann Brebner Agency. So we called there and they were like, oh, you have to be in Screen Actors Guild and blah, 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 and discouraging. And my mother said, let's take pictures of you. Let's take some Polaroids of you. And you put on your beautiful dress. I was a sewer. So you made your yellow tent dress and go up there and show up in person. That's what I did when I got my job at Clear Lake. And, I just went in there and they hired me. So we took Polaroids of me and I dressed myself up and walked into the lobby of Ann Brebner Agency. And I said, I want to do commercials, please, holding my Polaroids. And the person behind the desk called the modeling agents over. And they said, because I was that, how you see me in Columbo with the dark Italian hair and the Zoftic rounded body. And I was not a skinny, blonde haired girl. And they were like, oh, well, you go to John Robert Powers Modeling and Finishing School and get trained and come back and see us. Get your pictures done and come back and see us. So my father paid for me to go to John Robert Powers, and I did tea room modeling, and I kind of became their star girl. And I did runway and all these things. And then I also learned how to set a table and what glass goes on what thing, and all the modeling and finishing school. Learned what wine glass goes and where's the salad fork go, and I still know all that. So I got this modeling job at the Belmont Horse Raceway, which doesn't exist anymore, and it was for Thanksgiving. And they dressed me up as a pilgrim lady and put me in the winner's circle. And I have a picture of this too. They had a leash on. I mean, PETA would just go mad now, but I had a leash, this live turkey with a leash on its neck, and I'm standing there taking pictures with the winners of the horse race in this winner's circle. And this woman comes up to me and says, have you ever thought of running for the Miss America pageant? And I was like, no, I don't have any talent. So what do you do besides model? Well, I said, I just started to act a little bit and I can sing a little bit. And she goes, well, why don't you come to the tea? We're having a tea next Saturday. Meet all the other girls and we're going to explain what we do and see what you think. And so I dressed up, went to this tea, and then I got the competition spirit and I was like, I could beat all these girls in here. I had seen Funny Girl with Barbra Streisand probably 10 times. I really related to that movie. In fact, I just went with my daughter to the Amundsen to see the live musical show the other night. We were crying in the audience. And everybody was like, well, how come you like that movie? It's about an ugly girl. And I said, no, it's what I call the curse of the attractive woman, where people think you have it made, but you're kind of invisible because they just look at you from the outside. They don't really see your heart. And I love her line in there. I'm a bagel full of onion rolls. Nobody recognizes me, And so I went to see that movie, and so I wrote a monologue. First time I wrote anything, I wrote a monologue of me tripping in late because we couldn't get any of the writing from the film or the musical. And so I wrote my own monologue, and I sang "I'm the Greatest Star," a cut down version, and I won the Miss San Mateo County pageant. And so I was going off to Santa Cruz, and Susan Anton was the California at that time, and she's like, "I'm going to crown you tomorrow. You're going to get this." And they were writing in the San Mateo Times. Susan Damante is going to be our next. And so when it came down to, actually, I brought a little show and tell.
Oh, yay.
Oh, cool.
When it
That's
came
awesome.
down to, it was between me, the brunette Italian girl, and doing musical comedy, and a blonde skinny violinist. And
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
she won, and I was screaming.
I think I saw that in your show, your Life, Death, and Entertainment at the end, right? Yeah, yeah. Did you put it at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
That's awesome.
but I lost that, and then I used the scholarship, which was $600 or something, to join the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco and get classic training with William Ball, who was the founder. And that started my whole love of theater, and became a serious actress at that point. And so Eddie Foy of the famous Foy family was one of the judges, and he helped me to get an agent when I first came to LA. And he said, you were supposed to win that pageant. And I said, what do you mean? He said, there was an old lady, Irene something, who was a judge for many years. And she thought that Miss California needed to be blonde, skinny violinist. And she put you at the bottom and her at the top, and you lost by 1 point. And it really devastated me for quite a while that I lost. My whole Italian family went, like 50 of them, with a big banner. And every time I came out on the stage, they were like, "Miss Amadeo." And it was so much fun. They all stayed in one like big, overnight place in the Pajaro Dunes. And it was just this great big thing. And so it was a disappointment to everybody that I didn't win it. But of course, now I look back, and that was where, the path of where I was supposed to go to be trained as an actress. And so when I came down to LA and he told me that, I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So somehow that was meant to be. I started auditioning right away. Universal Studios just took a liking to me in that casting office. And so, those shows that were going on right then, it was, and, I was so young and not really aware of how to create a career. I didn't really have a mentor. So to say I knew Mr. Link, I really didn't. I met them on the set, but they knew about me and would call me in to, audition for all of their shows. But Columbo, I was a little more awake because I had just gotten married. And I was having my first time I almost died from internal bleeding from Crohn's disease. And I came out of the hospital and married my husband, Larry Shaw, and got this part in Columbo. And actually, Peter Falk met with me, took me out to lunch. And I guess he was trying to, figure out who I was and all of that, because I was very sort of self-consumed and not really confident, and as most young actresses are, I guess. But he was like, this is a really great opportunity for you. And I didn't really ever want to look at it like that. I just knew it was an acting job. And he and Ben Gazzara took me aside and talked about how important the role is. And it was so funny. I got to watch the episode last night on Tubi.
Mm-hmm.
Seen it in a long time. And I was like, wow, it's such a brilliant show. I mean, you laugh out loud and then you're just like shocked. And I remember at one point we were having dinner and I was laughing and joking because I have that funny side of me. And he was like, why don't you put that into your character? And I thought, I don't see the nurse being goofy and comedy. So I remember feeling like I know how to, what my character is, Ben. You can do it. It's like, goofy and I mean, had a little teasing side of her, but other than that, she was doing her job and, trying to be compassionate. Anyway.
Yeah, doing her job, but I love Melissa. I love your performance on that. I feel like it brings a really wonderful like humanity to this episode. You feel like a very real and warm, genuine person. You're a nice contrast to all of the officers and their uniforms and a very seriousness that's happening. So yeah, I just thought you were like a gem in the cast. Really, really loved it.
Yeah, I felt that way too, that she's kind of like there. She's like an anchor with everything that's going on. And as soon as she's ready at the ready for what has to happen. And yeah.
How long were you, was it a week of filming on the boat?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how many takes? Do you remember how many takes you would do for a scene for that show?
Oh, God, I don't know. No, I don't.
Just curious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember Robert Douglas, the one who played the doctor?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
What was he like?
He was so nice, very supportive. I was just, like I said, I was newly married, and my husband was, we had to have overseas calls because, there were no cell phones, right?
Gosh.
And, I'd be eating dinner and there'd be like, call for Susan Damante. Oh no, Susan Damante, Susan Shaw, there's a call for you. And I had to go in this little room and they were teasing me all the time. And your husband is, worried about you being on a boat with everybody.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Ben Gazzara and Peter Falk and Dean Stockwell and
very flirty guys.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and people were, they showed they're showing a movie, I think it was. Was that? Yeah. I think there was. Anyway, people were getting, seasick, and luckily I didn't, but yeah, it was. I love that whole scene where he's like, he stops and everybody's looking at him. He's just pointing. Can I use your toilet?
Oh,
He's like getting seasick. He goes, false alarm.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you had to take some of your own medicine on that cruise, or if you were okay during that.
I'm not. I also did a modeling cruise to Hawaii. And on that one, people were really like dropping like flies, but I did get sort of nauseous, but I just know how to control that. I don't know. Maybe it's because I was bulimic when I was a teenager, and yeah, you learn how to stop that from happening, and you know how to make it, control that. So maybe it's kind of a weird thing to be an expert at, but they were showing Wuthering Heights down in the theater, and I wanted to go watch it, and it ended up like person after person after person leaving to go up Chuck.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Did you get to meet Jane Greer or Poupée Bakar?
No, I don't remember meeting those ladies. No, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Liz? Sorry.
I was just going to ask if you were a fan of Columbo, of the show, before you were cast, or if it was something that you weren't really watching at the time.
Yeah, I was so busy when I first came to LA. I was auditioning probably almost every day, something, a commercial, modeling, so many different things I was doing. I did. And I was coming up, behind Farrah Fawcett and Cheryl Tiegs and
Mm-hmm.
Renee Russo was, I think, a year younger than me. And we were all with Nina Blanchard Agency and just working like mad. So I didn't get to really watch too much TV, but yeah, afterwards I started to watch it after I filmed it. And here's an interesting, I don't know if I can jump forward. Is there any?
Sure. Yeah.
Of course.
The interesting thing is my daughter, Vanessa Shaw, who I taught her everything she knows.
Both of them, right?
She came to me at 11 and said, I want to be an actor. And, my first thing was, no, you're not going to be an actor. You're going to be a child. And she was, I want to. I think I want to be an actor. And so I said, okay, well, here's how it's going to go. You're a family member, you're a student, and then you do this as an actor. And it's not who you are, it's what you do. It's a job. And you might miss your prom. You might miss the best date of your life. All the stuff for minors is going to be after school. You won't be able to do any after school sports, no band. She wanted to be in the band playing flute. And she was, oh, you're making me feel, that's just scaring me now. And I said, well, I'm just telling you how it's going to go. Because if you want to do this, I know how to help you do it. And, it's going to be full force. It's not going to be, oh, I think I want to kind of thing. And so she had started chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo at that time at 11. And she went and chanted in front of our altar. And she came back and said, I heard everything you're saying, and I still want to be an actress. So I put aside my acting career at that point. And for 10 years, I managed her and trained her. I'd read the scripts before I picked her up at school and break it down for her and rehearse in the car. And, yeah. And so she did a film called Corky Romano with Chris Kattan from SNL.
Mm-hmm.
And guess who was playing his father?
Oh, yeah. Peter Falk. Yeah.
Yes. And so she said, Mom, you have to come on the set. Peter Falk's playing the father. And so during a break, I went up to him and I said, Susan Damante. And he was like, what? What happened to you? Did you drink from the fountain of youth? What? You didn't age one day. And so I told him, I said, I went through a hard time fighting Crohn's disease, but I became victorious. I say to people, I'm going to go backwards. I'm going backwards. I'll be a baby soon. And revitalization after you almost die 5 times is, amazing. Yeah, so it was fun to see him there. It's pretty close to before he passed away. So I was happy I got to see him again.
So you filmed the 3 features of the Wilderness Family in Crested Butte, Colorado.
Well, the first one was in the Wasatch Forest in Utah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was any of them in the Crested Butte?
Yes, the 2 other Mountain Family Robinson, the third one, they had to change the name because of international promotion or something. It was getting like the Japanese couldn't figure out which film they were seeing. So they did Wilderness Family, Adventures of the Wilderness Family, Adventures of the Wilderness Family Part 2, and Mountain Family Robinson as the third one.
Oh, okay.
And they were both at Crested Butte.
Okay. So, our mom grew up in Gardner, Colorado, which is about 3 to 4 hours south, east of there. And my great aunt and aunts and grandfather have really weird stories about that area. Did anything unusual happen when you were out there, or is that nothing? It was all good, like nothing strange, like paranormal.
Well, paranormal. It was kind of like you were on a planet, a different planet. We were 12,000 feet above Crested Butte. A lot of people, same thing, dropped, because people that was 1979, 75 and 76 and 80. I think they were spread out like that. And people were doing quaaludes and, like going to the hospital because they were drinking.
Yikes. Yeah.
Because it's the altitude is terrible.
Yeah.
But no, I just remember it would snow. It took us so long to film there, this part 2 in the snow, because it would snow when we wanted to be sunny, and it would be sunny when we wanted to snow. We were all in this cabin fever in this cabin. And, it was, a lot of goings on happening behind the scenes with people, just trying to survive and have some fun. And, there was a bar there, so everybody just get wasted after.
Oh dear. Maybe we should censor this part for the fans.
Sorry.
No, I'm just teasing. I'm teasing. So your autobiographical award-winning solo show, Life, Death, and Entertainment. I watched the 2015 performance that's on YouTube. At the New York Fringe Festival, and I loved it. I thought it was very moving, very just like raw, and the stuff that you had at the end, and I mean, it was funny too. I loved when you would do your mom and your dad and Joey, and it was just very powerful, particularly Joey, and just a remarkable piece of art, that you did. How long did it take you to write it and just put it together? Besides your whole life, I mean, but like sitting down and.
About 5 years. It took so long and I was studying acting with Jeffrey Tambor at that time. And I was actually, I had gone to New York to study acting. I was 10 years Crohn's disease free. And I knew I'd beat it finally. And it was, just an incredible thing to wake up in the morning and not be fighting for my life. But it took me 10 years to realize that, okay, I'm past it. Because it was, during the first 5 years, I was kind of waiting for the shoe to drop, what's going to happen, because it just comes over you without any warning. But I started to get very, very wise about it. I had to, I call it the University of Susan. That I had to learn about grudge holding, because people say, how'd you overcome Crohn's disease? It's incurable. And I said, I didn't overcome Crohn's disease. I overcame everything that was killing me inside. And that was spiritual, physical, emotional, is very much connected to, that mind-body connection. And it's hard to talk to people, especially my podcast, I talk about how people call me. In fact, somebody called me 2 days ago asking, their son has Crohn's disease. He's 7. The mother wanted to talk to me. And I say to them, there's a purpose for illness. We all suffer illness. In Buddhism, it says we have the 4 sufferings: birth, aging, sickness, death. Every living thing goes through those, no matter what your sexual preference, your background, your culture, your color of your skin, anything. And so it brings you down to the humanity. And so the whole point is that illness going to take you down, or is it going to be something that enlightens you? And I realized that when I was chanting one day, probably 8 years into, about 8 years into the disease, I realized nobody gave me this. I manifested this. And so I got this effing disease, and I can get rid of this effing disease. It's mine. No one gave it to me. It's not being perpetrated upon me. And it turned my whole life around, having that realization. And so I just started doing the University of Susan and realizing what was killing me. Grudge holding. I'm Italian. It's in my blood. Get rid of the grudge. My father, as you know from the show, Paul, was murdered. And my father was murdered because of that, that negativity that he lived his life with, And it's hard sometimes, like I was saying, that to talk about this to people because they think it's, positive thinking, or it's some kind of superficial thing, where it's really a transformation of your inner life, basically, and how you operate, how I eat food. I was bulimic, so how I honor, the food that goes into my mouth now, or how I speak to other people, how I used to hold grudges, hold my love. You're dead to me, that whole thing, that Italian thing, it's real. You're dead to me. And so I had to transform all of those habitual things that were causing my gut to explode. And so I really wanted to write about it. And I went to go and study at the Atlantic Theater in 2002. I didn't really set out to do anything. I just thought, I'm going to just go and study in New York City. And my daughter was graduating from Sarah Lawrence College. And I was at a pub and opened up the Village Voice, and it said, come and study acting with William H. Macy and David Mamet. And I was like, I gotta do this. And so it really ended up being the demise of my marriage. My husband ended the marriage. My daughter didn't talk to me for 2 years almost. My whole life got thrown up in the air and came back in a different configuration during that time. But it really, now we all see, my ex-husband's with a woman that he loves and adores and is very happy. And, we all see that sort of had to be pulled apart. And in order for us to have a brighter future in the direction we all are now. And so, I started telling my story at the Atlantic, and my teacher, Robert Bella, who's now directing The Rookie TV show, he said, you need to write this. You should write a book. You should, the whole thing with my brother and my father's murder and just drugs, alcohol in my family, and my own overcoming Crohn's disease. And so I met a woman there who was also a Buddhist, and I went to her Harlem brownstone, and she fed me, and she was like, let's do this. Let's start this. And her name was Clemi Baxter. She unfortunately passed away recently of lung cancer, but she was my muse. So I came back to LA and started studying with Jeffrey. And I just kept thinking, who's going to listen to me stage talk about bleeding from my ass? Why would anybody pay a ticket? And he really helped me to see that's not what it's about. It's about overcoming adversity. You're standing up here healthy and vibrant, and you went through all of that. And that's what it is. It's how the human spirit and how it can overcome adversity. And so one night he stuck me on the stage and he goes, what do you want? I said, what do you mean? He goes, you have this show? You've been writing it for how long? And I said, I don't know. He goes, what date is it? And it was like April 2005. Been writing it since 2002. And he's like, what's your ulterior motive? I was like, what do you mean? He goes, what do you want? What is it you want? I said, I want to encourage people with my story. Okay. How many seats in this theater? Somebody said 99. Okay. Book this theater tomorrow or don't come back to class next week. And the next day I booked the theater, and it was such in rhythm because they were trying to save the Santa Monica Playhouse, which they did. By having shows in there, if you could bring in $600 a night. And they gave me a weekend, and I sat down and wrote it like in one weekend. It was very rough, but I wrote it and I performed it, and everybody was standing on their feet. And then when I got to New York, I did the whole, original songs. The first one, covers of other songs, people's songs that fit into it. But yeah, I still want to perform it, but I'm looking for producers now. I paid too much money for all of my own money out there.
Yeah. So the one that you have like an excerpt from, that's a newer version. Where is that available? Like, how can you watch that? Or that's just someone filmed a little bit of it?
Oh, the one I have, the teaser.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I have that on Vimeo, I think.
Oh, on
Uh,
Vimeo. Oh, the
yeah,
whole thing? It's available?
I have the whole thing.
We'll have
Yeah,
to
I think
post
it's
that then.
yeah, I'll have to do that. That was filmed at the Hollywood Fringe in 2017.
Oh, cool. Did you see other people's work at New York or LA or Hollywood fringe festivals?
Oh yeah, I went to a lot of different things. Yeah.
How were those? Are they I guess they run the gamut, huh? I've never been to something like that.
Run the gamut is like understatement. People dressed in, cardboard and, to deep dramas to funny animated things. I mean, it's the Fringe Festival. It's all different kinds
Oh,
of stuff.
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, you've already kind of mentioned this, but I want you to please tell me everything about your podcast.
Okay. Yeah, I always listen to what people tell me. You should blah blah blah, like my mother, you should be in commercials, and had I just said, no, I can't do that. Something I like about myself. I listen to the environment and I think, well, let me check this out. Maybe this is something I'm supposed to do. And so I when I came back to LA, I made the impossible possible and I bought my own duplex in Los Angeles in 2020. And the way I pay my mortgage is I'm an Airbnb superhost. And so I had this woman who was staying in the it's a side by side, and she was in the backyard, and it was COVID, and she was kind of like, "Come on back, we'll sit apart and wear our masks." And talking to her, she said, "So what's going on with your acting career? I saw, I looked you up, and people always look me up." And I said, "I don't know. I'm kind of stalled. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing at this point. I kind of feel like I'm on the outside looking in. I had a career, and then I helped my daughter have a career, and then I went through Crohn's disease for 18 years and almost died, and my marriage ended, and now I'm kind of like, what do I want to do?" I started telling her my story, and she was like, "You need to have a podcast." And I said, "Well, how do I have a podcast?" She goes, "Find out." I don't know how you have a podcast. You need to encourage people with these stories. And then she goes, "If you want to have Hollywood," she goes, "have Hollywood come to you, have a podcast where they go, 'Hey, you have a podcast? I want to have you in my movie,' or whatever. And so I just started to take steps to do it, and got a coach in New York City, and she taught me how to begin. I started just asking people, "Do you want to be on my podcast?" And I didn't realize how many, I mean, everybody has their adversity story. If you're a human being, you have it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just know how to kind of pull it out of people and ask the questions. Like my friend Dorothy Sinclair, who is a theater member with me at Theater 40 in Beverly Hills. I met her there in 2014. She's 98 now and has had the most amazing life. And I had to do 2 hours with her, part two, because of everything she's been through. And people just enjoy it. They enjoy hearing, how people went through what they went through and came out the other side.
I loved listening to that one. I loved her short answer for her longevity of being 95 years young when you did the interview was chocolate and vodka was her answer. But she had such a amazing life. It just, or has, and it just, I loved all the stories that she shared with you.
Yeah, and it's really
cool.
It's so cool. And she would be the same age as my mom. And so, but she's not like a mom to me. We're kind of like sisters. Like, it's very interesting. She came up to me. I did a reading when I first joined the theater company, and she was just like, "You're fucking amazing." Do you know that? I was like, wow, okay, you're a beast. No.
What was it? What was it she saw that you did? Just different stuff.
Yeah, I think it was a play called The Gamester. It was iambic pentameter, rhyming couplets. Not everybody can do that.
Wow.
I learned
No.
I learned that at ACT. Corsets and fans and wigs and all of that. Yeah, so she just became my friend, and recently she had a fall and they put her in this rehab, and I went to see her and she's like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. And I just slapped her up, seriously. I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I wanted to see her performance of something that she had put online. Somebody put it online on YouTube, but I couldn't find it. She said the name and then her name, and I couldn't find it. So maybe I didn't search hard enough.
Yeah, it's called Rose. I think I'll send it to you. She'll show me what it is.
But yeah, please do.
Yeah, it's a beautiful performance about this woman in the Holocaust. Yeah, it's a great piece.
So you're still doing work at that theater, the Beverly
Hills? I
just
did a reading last Saturday, a new play by David Datz called Toxic Murder, about a CEO. I play the CEO, Dylan, who is, one of these corporate people who justifies not caring about human life and poisoning the water. And so I bring all of my team into my house and the whistleblower. And I think that us gathering together is going to make a difference, and it ends up going to hell and somebody gets killed.
Is it very serious? There's very dramatic
comedy in it. I mean, there's humorous points into it, but it's pretty brutal about, the arrogance of people that you know that you're poisoned, the water's being poisoned, and you live up on the mountain, you could care less. Mm-hmm. Your water's not poisoned, but the people down below are getting sick.
Yeah.
So, and she's, there's the director said to me, when you say the line, so I say to the woman who's is one of my assistants, and I say, you're going to run the show, you're going to help us to stay on track. And she starts to get really mean about certain things. And I say, Avery, I want this to be pleasant. I told you I wanted this to be pleasant. Well, what do if we're going to talk the truth, it's not going to be pleasant. I want pleasantness. Is that clear? So she's that kind of thing. And everybody came up to me afterwards. It was like, wow, you're a mean SOB. I like to play those roles. Those are fun because I'm such a nice person.
It's a good outlet. You can get all that. If you had anything inside, that you squelch, you can let it run. Yeah. And you in that short unending hell, you were a little bit like that.
Yes.
With telling the agents and the filmmakers and
well, you really did your
stay on track.
Paul.
Oh yeah. It's great. I mean, there's so much stuff online.
So fun,
which is amazing. I did want to see the Jonathan Kaplan one you did. Did you enjoy that one? I couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah, the student teachers.
Like Vidiots or Videotech didn't have it.
Yeah, I don't know how. I think there's like excerpts or something of it, but I think I might have it actually. I have the poster. I might have it somewhere. But,
oh wow!
Like on VHS or something. But that was Roger Corman. Julie Corman was producing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I think Ron Howard had just done his Roger Corman movie at that time, and so all these up and comers, were getting chances with him, and it was about student teachers, and my character gets raped in the gym by a coach. Turns out, you end up finding it's a coach, who wears a clown mask. The character actor, Dick, he just passed away, I think, last year. Can't remember his last name, but he was a really great character actor. He played it. He came over to my house and he said, I just want to rehearse the scene with you because I don't want to hurt you. And I'm from Stanislavski, I'm method acting. I'm like, slap me up, slap me,
Daniel Day-Lewis, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, if I'm going to be raped and I have, my breasts exposed, that's the only way I'm going to be able to do it. If you do it. And so we found out a way to be safe and also for him to be, brutal. But, that kind of was, I always say that was the precursor to the Accused with Jodie Foster.
Oh, yeah, which he directed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, because he practiced his rape scene on me before her. Yeah, it was really great working with him. And it's a weird 70s movie where, how those movies where they have one theme and then next thing you know, we're in a bus and I'm dressed as a nun and we're trying to escape the police. I mean,
there's so many of those Giallo and American. Yeah, I've seen so many that are just like, and just the posters, you're just like, what is this? Whoa, what's going on? Got Alan Alda and he's killer clown.
Exactly. It's just like, I don't really even know what the movie was about anymore. Really don't. It was about student teacher. I was a sex education class. And then, we had a poster, because it was originally called The Learning Factor because it was based on a real story of the student teachers and sexual assault. And Roger, his packaging was, night call nurses and the posters. So we all took off our clothes and, had towels around us. And there was in order to make it symmetrical, there were us 3 stars and then they just had an extra girl that they had on the poster so that it would be a rounded she wasn't even in the movie.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I
and
believe
he renamed it The Student Teachers so that people would go see it.
Oh my gosh.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Even the Wilderness family was four-walled. Do you know what that means?
No.
It was called four-walling in the 70s, mid 70s, where a production company would buy out theaters. And in those 4 walls, it's called the 4 walls, you would have this amount of time for your movie to play. And you would pay them to play your movie.
Oh, okay.
And that's how it was distributed. And then it became international. And I went to Japan and I was mobbed by people. They loved that movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long were you in Japan? For like a weekend or a week?
I think it was more like a week or 10 days or so. Yeah, we had.
That sounds amazing.
So amazing. Really, really.
But it got scary. It got a little scary.
What do you mean?
With the mobs or whatever.
No, it was, happy mobs.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, because they.
I don't know.
They had never seen a movie with, they loved California and the wilderness and the family and the whole story of us uniting as a family was just moved them in their culture. And they just thought that family was just wonderful. And they were so happy when part 2 came out and 3. They called it an adventure family because they can't say wilderness. So they called it Adventure Family. Oh, I see. I saw Adventure Family. Oh, it's a movie.
I did. Well, all the scenes that I saw about an hour of the first one, and there's the scene with you and the bird. I love that. And then, like the one with the pumas too. Like some of that was kind of scary. I was like, well, is that attacking the dog? It looked so real. I mean, it looked like they must have been declawed, obviously, but like there were so many cool things like that where you're really with the animal.
Yes, we had great animal wranglers there. They were the tops. It was amazing. Like Three Toes, the grizzly, the way they trained them, it's kind of cruel, I guess. Again, PETA would be terrible, but is that they had electric wire fences, and as a pup, or what do they call it? Not pup, um,
Cub.
cub.
Mhm.
They would start them off early to make them stop at a certain point, and they'd be shocked by the electric wire.
Mm.
And they'd have these timers, egg timers, click, 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 click.
Yeah.
And so finally, when they would be trained, all they needed to do was just have a fence with the clickers, and that would have them be able to run, 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 trying to chase us or looking like they're chasing us, and stop when they see and hear the clickers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the dogs, they had like 3 different crusts to play. One would bare its teeth, and the other one would be, licking you, and they'd have, various personalities. And yeah, I mean, that whole bird thing was pretty much my improvisation, because they were like bringing a bird in. We didn't write anything, so I just, improvised when the bird sat on my finger. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I really, it sounds like a great series of films. I'm excited to watch it. My kids will probably like it too. Sounds like.
Oh, yeah. People love this movie. I mean, it's like I said, I'm still getting letters and people showing their kids, their nephews, their nieces. They enjoy.
Your short film Repercussions, you're writing a feature screenplay for that, or you put it away?
I
Or
put it to the side right now. Yeah, I was working with Foley Mara for several years and we did everything. We did the filming, the boom operators, the editing. We all did it together. It was really pretty amazing. And so I learned how to be a filmmaker there. And I thought I was going to, continue to write, but I'm really an actor. And, these last 2 years, I have really great agent and manager now, and got all my materials up to speed and footage, and I'm determined to have the career I was supposed to have at 18, 19, 20 now, that I worked so hard and trained for. And so it's kind of like one of my agents said, "We should do voiceover. You have such a great voice." And I was like, "You don't just do voiceover. You have to have a career. I mean, you have to put all those eggs in that basket. You got to get a booth. You have to do,
oh, right, yeah,
you got
totally.
to be on that and make the relationships and do the auditions. And I want to have, a series regular TV show. I want to have a independent, really great role in independent film. So I'm kind of putting the writing to the side at the moment.
Yeah.
Those sound like really wonderful things. I'm sure you're going to make them happen. I'm sure they're going to come to fruition for you.
Thank you. Everybody's been saying that, and I believe it. I'm very excited about it, because it's kind of like the way I got my agent was she called me, and I answered my email, and she goes, "So tell me, what can I do for you?" And I said, "Well, let me tell you what I can do for you. Your company."
Yeah.
And she said, "Okay." And I said, "If Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, Taylor Hackford, any of Ryan Murphy calls you tomorrow and says, we can't find anybody for our lead lady. We have to do it tomorrow. Do you have anybody?" I could analyze the script, memorize it, show up on time, be professional, and make you proud tomorrow. And she's like, now I know why I answered your email. And then we signed, so that's the difference between the sort of Columbo girl, the Melissa girl, who had all the skills and talents, but I was frightened and terrified most of the time.
Wow. Yeah, no, I've done a little bit of acting, but I know that you have to do what you taught your daughters. It's 24/7, and you have to have all these skills to be good. I've had different acting teachers over the years, but yeah, I really commend your force and your wherewithal to that world of acting, because it's just blows my mind.
Yeah, it's not easy, but Vanessa's really, continued to have a really good career. And now she's trying to do her own films. I've been asking her for years, don't just be an actor for hire. You've been analyzing scripts since you were 11. You know what a good script is, so you should be a producer. And at first she was like, I don't know how to be a producer. I said, neither does Drew Barrymore or, Reese Witherspoon. They have those people around them that are their creative. They're the creatives, and everybody else knows how to run everything and get stuff done. So she's starting to, she has a story that she wants to tell right now that she's getting done step by step. And she's realizing how long it takes and all the no's that everybody says and
oh my gosh,
all of that. Yeah.
Well, Susan, we have kept you way past.
Yes, Susan.
I told you it was going to be hard to keep me from talking.
No, we loved it.
No,
Thank you so much. But I do want to be respectful of your Friday time. Thank you so much. We will put links, any links that you send to us, Susan, we will put them in our show notes so that our listeners can listen to your podcast, watch any of your films that are online, anything that you want to share with our listeners, we will share.
Fantastic. That's so great.
So please send them our way. Yeah.
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 Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Such a pleasure.
Yes. Thank you.
This is great. Thank you.
We want to say thank you to Maxime Gervais for our theme song, Columbo. Thank you. Thank you. And this podcast is edited by John Warenas. Thank you very much, John. And if you want to add to our conversation, share your thoughts on Columbo, please email us at trenchcoatcigar@gmail.com or message us on Instagram at trenchcoatcigar or add a comment to our posts. And we have exclusive content on Patreon. If you would like to watch us have these wonderful conversations, you can watch us on there. We also have a YouTube channel. If you want to listen on YouTube, you can find us on there as well. And Paul, one other thing.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Yay.
Columbo, French coat, cigar, la Peugeot. Columbo, au mambo Columbo, pas de gun, pas de look, pas de look. Columbo, French coat, cigar, la Peugeot. Columbo, au mambo Columbo, pas de gun, pas de look, pas de look. Passion meurtrière, folie passagère, rien à foutre devant l'expertise policière. T'avais un plan sans faille, pensez à chaque détail. L'inspecteur